Okay, we're going to talk today about the A1XFour, which is like a B1XFour. In fact, they're all basically the same. I don't know if it comes with this extra piece of hardware. It seems to be some XLR that goes through microphone amp for acoustic guitar. Oops, what's happened there? Wrong one. Anyway, so I've got this program here I've written. What I'll do is I'll start it running in the debug mode, and then we'll talk about what it's doing roughly, because the aim is to be vaguely musical. So this is based on some work, or a lot of work that Mungewell did to do the injection. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're reading the state of the pedals, in this case an A1XFour. Let me just do a quick cd tilde / software zoom Z22. And if we do ls my pedal star.zd2 ls-1 rather, and don't worry if this makes sense, because it does make sense when we break it down. And we're basically seeing how many effects there are on an A1X. So typically there are 198. So the first thing it does is to go to the pedal, interrogate it, read the catalog of the ZD2, the effects. It gets their ID for both the group and the FX. Then it pulls apart all the FX by reading the ZD2s, pulls out the bitmaps, then it reads in the patches, decodes those, and puts into two arrays, one for the FX and one for the patches. And one of the reasons why it's a lot slower than normal is because we're using JSON5, because Zoom are basically using JSON5 rather than JSON, which in technical terms means that where you get to an end of an array in JSON, you might not expect to see a comma because it implies there's another element. Whereas in JSON5, you can do this. I don't know why Zoom did it specifically on this pedal. If we look at my pedal znr.json, you can see at the end here these extra commas. Yeah. So that would imply there's another element in the array, and that would imply there's another array if you use JSON. JSON5 is considerably slower than JSON. I don't know if there's a way to convert it. I might look into that. So basically, we've read the contents of the pedal, and then what we're doing is we are rendering the pedal on the screen in a minute, or at least the some slots for it. Here we are. And so down the bottom here, we've got the ability to look at patches, and here we can look at FX. So if we look here, we can see we've got all the FX in their different modes. So the dynamics, the filters, the whole shebang, yeah. And this allows us, for example, to put modulation. So, sorry, I chose cabinet to get modulation. So when we choose tremolo, when we move to one of these effects, it will set it. So I click there, and it should basically set tremolo. So you see it's sent to the pedal, hey man, go and set tremolo as the effects. And then it put the little GUI on the screen. But I think it should be bigger than that. Bit surprised. I think it should be twice that size. I don't know. I need to think about that. Maybe I need to make it 4 times the size. We'll see. Anyway, but this is the kinky thing. Now we can go and say what's in the Martin patch. Boom. And so I'm a bit colorblind, but I tried to colorize it to have green for on. And so you see, for whatever reason, there doesn't seem to be anything in the first effect. I need to check I'm not making a mistake here, but I don't think I am. And then in the op comp, there is FX2 is on, and then you see this bone EQ takes up 2 slots because it's wider, and then the plate takes up the next slot, and the pitch takes up the final slot. So now we can click on, click on one of these to see what's in the Gibson one. Yeah. So again, it's very similar, but it's got the rack. Let's have a look at, I don't know, nylon. Everyone likes a bit of nylon. So it's pretty much the same. It has a bit of plate on it. Now, we can even use the code in the Jason to grep this. Again, someone said to me, hey, how is this useful to a musician? I'm sorry, guys. I'm a computer scientist, I'm a physicist, mathematician, and a musician, yeah? So it is useful if you know how to use the information. And the idea is to try and make this available on my pages, which one of them's here. So here I talk about the B1X4, and the A1X4 is very similar. So I've documented all the commands that I've found on the internet or myself, reverse engineering this thing so that if you want to sit there and program your pedal board to do B000, B020, and then the value, and C0 and the value, that on the B14X will select that patch. So if we say patch 40, 40 minus 10 is 30, and that would be a hex value which you have to convert. But you see, equally well, I have programs that do this, yeah. So load patch, you put the physical numbers in, and it will change it for you, okay. And equally well, what we're doing here, I'm working with a nice Australian guy to try and decode the GCE-3 here. So, as I find information, I put it here. So there's a whole load of decodes there of the different pedals or whatever. And there should be a README in here somewhere where I'm putting the information about the pedal. Maybe it's in there. I don't know, maybe it's up there, sorry. There we are. So this README has got some information, but if you brick it, I managed to brick my GCE-3, and then I managed to unbrick it, okay? Your mileage may vary, okay? This is what internally the modes look like. We don't know how to switch it yet. That's what we're looking at, but we know how to find out what it's in. So this is useful, particularly if Gadwin, I think his name is, the ToneLib developer. He would understand what I'm talking about here. And I'm just trying to do the work, so if he wants to make the modification, he can. Again, there's a rotary, it changes like that. Let's see what else we can get in here. So this allows us to, it's an empty one. Let's have a look at the last one here. That one. See, look, so that is coming in the first slot, yeah. So I'm pretty convinced that it's right, okay. Now, so far, what have we got? We've got this program, which is a modification of Mungewell's with a GUI. It interacts with the pedal. It dumps the current state of the pedal into a cache, and then it reads them back and allows you to go through and say, what's in this patch? And this is I'm using the keyboard a minute. It will work as a touchscreen. I've got the touchscreen and I'll plug it in another day and actually try and touch that to see what it does, yeah. And if we want to turn the FX on and off, we can click on it and it should turn it off, yeah. Actually, that turned it on, sorry. That'll turn it off, yeah, and it goes red, yeah. And you can see it sending the sysx to the pedal to say, hey, turn you off, yeah. Again, if we want to change the ID, let's say we want to put something in the first slot. So there's a few things missing. This is not production ready code. This is really for my own benefit to see how the thing's working, and also to allow me, because I'm getting older, to not have to bend down. So I click there, and that will now add the FX into the thing. I think I'm going to make those 2 times bigger than they are, yeah, because they're small. So now it's put that FX into that, and the pedal's done it. Now, just before I sign off, there's something I sort of lied to you all about here. So this is actually the Zoom GCE that's being controlled. I have no idea what's on the pedal. I see a piece of plastic like Ludwig here has got it. He's playing with his little friend. He's my friend. So here I'm actually controlling the GCE-3 in A1XFour mode. And it seems to be doing the right thing. I haven't got it all right. One thing I need to work on, you see, I'm able to work out when the slots are bigger. So, if there's a driver, if for example, if I find a drive or one of these amps are probably bigger. No, I actually, have they got any EQ on it? Maybe they don't do EQ. Oh, there we are. There's an EQ. Look, ST Beast, this one here. Yeah. So let's put that EQ in and let's stick it there. Now that is wider, you see, and it's a 2 slot. So what I've done at the minute, I've worked out when I read the patch in that, oh, it's a 2 slot. It goes there. So I'm going to get slightly technical for a minute. The way that Zoom seems to work is you get slot 0, slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4. Most human beings think in terms, and even the pedal as I look at it now, the G1XFour has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on it. So you tend to think of, oh, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I automatically take care of the +1, okay? But when you put one of these in here, that would be technically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. So if we put it somewhere else, it'd be 0, 1, 2, and 3. This would have to be 4. So what I need to do different is when I insert a slot, I need to count up the number or the width of the slots before it from my slots to know that I've got one wide, one wide. So that will be 1, 2, this will be 3. Yeah, which looks obvious to you, but it isn't, and therefore 3 and 4. So this one becomes 5, but I still want to talk about it as being fx 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because this is a much more natural language for us to use as musicians than computing scientists. Yeah, so that's the way I want to work on it, and that's what this thing is telling me here, the 1111 as a debug to see how wide these things are. Yeah, so that's the progress at the minute. What I guess I'll put on as um, extra information, I'll probably I'll make those bitmaps bigger. I think, I don't know, that's going to get a bit wider, isn't it? Uh, I'll play with that. I might make them twice as wide, yeah, because we've got the real estate on a big screen to look at them. Yeah, I got to put something on to turn the tuner on. I got to think about whether it's possible to get the tuner data, and of course it's possible to get the tuner data and render it. I don't know if it's easy to do. I might want to put an FX delete in. I might want to put a set tempo. I definitely want to put a bank number so that rather than just clicking here to change the bank, you can set it. And also got to put the parameters P1 to N. Um, and there's a slight complication because the way the MIDI values, they make sense to me, but the screen does different things. So sometimes you get little what's it called, little music notes or whatever. I know how to get them and I know how to look at them. It's just going to take time to code them, and I'm not certain that I'm that bothered personally about it because I don't often use those features. And this is just to allow me to play with my pedals, click, click, click on the touch screen in an easy way. So thank you to Mungewell for his code. I've modified it. At one point, I might try and see if I can check some of it in. But this is basically controlling a GCE in the A1XFour mode, and as far as Manjul's code is concerned, it is an A1X. It's just working fine. So his code is specifically hard coded to the G1X, B1X, and the 4 and the non-X versions of them. So the X4, basically the A1X4, A14, B14, G14, G1X4, B1XFour, A1XFour, those sorts of pedals, yeah. What I need to work on next is extending the patch format so that when I read one of the BC3s in, B3 ends in, or the 5 ends, I handle that. And it isn't quite as simple as I see a lot of people on the say, oh, it's just as simple as adding it in. Yeah, you try and code it. It's not as simple as that. They add extra stuff in. There's more FX for starters, but it's a question of whether they keep the basic parameter decoding the same. We'll have to look at that. And yeah, so why do I want to do this? Well, one, I want to be able to touch the pedals, but equally well on a touch screen. But equally well, the GCE-3 allows us to use the G5N. That's a fantastic piece of kit, yeah. I mean, hell, if I can't get it working, I might buy one. You've got about 7 FX slots, and it's got the particle reverb that the B1 on has got. Now, I really love my B1 on for the simple reason it's got the particle reverbs, but I will be able to do most of what I'm doing here with it, but it's a harder way of doing it. So the later pedals, and I can see why they put this family on the GCE-3, the emulator, because they all have a similar sysx, yeah, and the older ones don't quite have the same richness. So I might just give up on the B1N and just use it as a basic pedal. And the fact that I can use the GCE-3 with a B5 emulator to get the particle reverb is interesting. And I saw the other day there's a looper on there. It's kind of kinky, but I might play with it. Anyway, thank you for watching. And have fun, and more as I get it, and I'll post the code eventually on my wiki site. Cheers. Bye bye.